If you watch only one more of my videos, this is the video you need to watch. Do you want to know what your specific runner is actually thinking about you? What they are actually thinking about your separation? Even why they don't reach out to you? You need to do the exercise in this video and it will answer all your burning questions. In order to do this, you'll need to go back to a time when you were running from this person yourself. If you were never the runner at all, then just try to picture a time when you knew this person, but hadn't become what they call the divine feminine yet. You hadn't done any shadow work or any inner work. You hadn't looked into stuff about twin flames. Picture you as your old self with whatever blocks you used to have. Now imagine that instead of you becoming the divine feminine, your counterpart does instead. Imagine that they go and do the healing work before it even becomes an option for you. Then I want you to map out your timeline of all the things that you've done since you found out about twin flames, since you started chasing. I want you to look at this timeline and imagine that your counterpart instead did all these things. Instead of you, they do all the things that you did. They went on the spiritual awakening. They went on the twin flame path. They took the actions that you took. Whether it was reaching out, whether it was trying to express your feelings, anything that you did, picture them doing it instead. Picture even if they were trying to get you to heal or point out what was wrong with you, or professing their love for you before you knew how to love yourself. Everyone's journey is different, but take this exercise step by step. Reverse the whole story. Really imagine that this person who is now running did exactly the opposite. Now, for those of you who didn't really hear everything that I just said, and you're more like, well, that would be great if they wanted to heal and everything. I would heal with them. I want you to really ask yourself if that is indeed the truth. There's always a reason on both sides why the two of you are not together today. You two are each other's mirrors. If you were all perfect yourself, you wouldn't be on a healing journey. Not to say that there's anything bad about that. Not to say that perfect is the goal, but we're all working through things. And I'm talking about the time before you started to do any work on yourself. Were you ready to have this person, your counterpart, begin to do the healing work? Begin to shine. Begin to be a better person right before your eyes. And then they come and expect the same of you. Were you ready to let down those walls and have your every shadow examined on someone else's timeline? I'm going to cue my intro now, but I highly encourage you to pause here and look at this. Play every aspect out in your mind. How would you have reacted to them taking this huge step forward? Every step of the way. Every time they professed love for you or bettered themselves without you, how would you have felt? When we come back, I'll share what came up for me. I think this will surprise you. Welcome back, Divine Feminines. After doing this exercise, were you able to see the runner better? Were you able to understand what it is that they are going through and why they aren't speaking with you? it goes a lot deeper than what the tarot readings tell you, doesn't it? In fact, I bet you feel like you just gave yourself your own tarot reading without any cards in front of you at all. That's what this journey is about. That's why your counterpart is your mirror. They show you everything about yourself. You don't need to pay someone else $100 for a reading. It's all right there. In fact, if you did this exercise correctly, you probably also had some kind of body reaction come up. Tears, digestive noise, itching, or some other kind of bodily reaction. This is normal when you are looking at shadows that have been hidden for a long time. Please comment down below and share some of your insights. I would love to hear them. Now, when I did this exercise, I took myself back to the time when I was running the hardest. I was completely avoidant, and he was completely anxious. If you guys don't know that yet, look up stuff on attachment styles or comment below and tell me if you'd like me to do a video on it, and I will. I had what some might consider to be a high-powered job at the time. I managed something like $200 million worth of pharmacy clients. It was a ton of stress. But my motto at that time was work hard and play harder. Only the playing I was doing was quite detrimental to my life. Like a lot of corporate America, I drank a lot. I smoked, and to help my brain shut off, I took Ambien every night. Sometimes that Ambien was mixed with the alcohol to make it even better. This was my only source of empowerment. Through my ego, the job and the coping mechanisms helped me to feel strong. I know now that I wasn't strong. But this is what addicted people do. They don't have any other way to feel. Well, let's just say they are avoiding feeling weak. So any alternative to that feels better. I also had a very close relationship with a male friend. Some would call him a nice guy. You know the guy that I'm talking about, pretending to be your friend, listening to all your problems, never turning away from you in hopes that one day you'll sleep with them. He was the guy who I used as a wall so that I wouldn't have to make an emotional connection with a romantic partner. I could keep them at bay because I had him to talk to. I had him to share with. Yes, so I had him and then the toxic ex who cheated on me. Well, he wasn't in my life at the time, but he was still very much in my mind and in the background. And he was willing to be in my life whenever I called. So now that I've painted a picture for you of the mess of what my life was, with this, I did as my higher self asked me to. I imagine that my counterpart went first, that he went to the meadows in Arizona and did the childhood trauma work while I was running. Then he asked me to dinner to reveal how he was improving himself, and even cried in front of me telling me his story. That's actually what happened in real life, what I had actually done. And it was the first time that he truly turned his back on me. But in this scenario, remember, we have turned the tables now, and this is about me and my reaction. So I went and put myself there, and I was honest. So what I would have felt if he had done what I had done and come to me, I would have felt caught off guard, and I would have slid even deeper into my deceptive, strong ego feeling, where my ego keeps me safe. I would have felt drawn away from him, honestly. I would have felt more aligned with the toxic ex-pilot because he was bad. And I remember that that is how I felt about myself. My ego was oh so powerful that it would override the consciousness of that and remind remind me that I'm safe in what I know. You know how they say, like, I'm gonna stay with this because it's the devil that I know, at least it's the devil that I know, kind of like that. And I would have looked at my counterpart even more if you guys haven't watched my video on what the runner is thinking during separation. I talked very much about when I was running, like, I saw my counterpart as like this helpless puppy that just kept following me around. And so during this time, in this scenario, I would have seen him even more like this puppy who knew nothing about life. I would have downplayed what was real in that moment. I would have said something like, "Well, that's so good for you." You being the key word here, separating myself from this. And what you guys might even find fascinating about this is this was the time in my life when I began reading about complex PTSD. I was actually starting to gain a lot of knowledge about childhood trauma and about psychology. But I think maybe I was reading it all for the wrong reasons and not for myself. So this is where I would have began to find rock bottom. No matter who I had to engage with that to actually make it happen, I would have done. I would have felt like this strong need for self-preservation. I knew better than this. During this time, remember, I wouldn't have had the benefit of having him as my spiritual catalyst, because he would be the one doing everything that I should have been doing. I instead would have been his catalyst to heal. There would have been nothing driving me to actually improve myself. There was once a quote by a men's coach who commented that avoidants sometimes have to have their face dragged on the concrete for a while. And I can see that by losing this person, what I mean by that is him no longer being in the trenches of pain with me, but it being my choice not to follow because I felt like such shit about myself. This is where my dragging my face on the concrete would have began. My ego would have felt like my only friend at that time, like my only cheerleader, and I would have followed whatever it told me, like whatever it told me. I would have looked at my counterpart and said to myself, why does he want to be a part of my life? He's bettering himself. And he should literally be leaving me behind. Why isn't he? And you guys won't believe what else came up here. I would have been determined to find a way to enjoy my face being dragged along the concrete, just in order to feel some sense of power still. Because the messiness is what felt like home to me. But why wouldn't I allow this person who was healing to help me? Because what I felt at that time was like I was trash. And that's how I was acting in my life. Everything that I told you guys earlier matched how I felt about myself. I would have felt like, just leave me alone in my messiness. Save yourself. And so I went on to examine what had happened if he had continued down my path. Next, going to the spiritual awakening retreat that I went to, and then going on to do plant medicine ceremonies. All the while, at random times, just checking in with me. And me being able to still feel love from him without him even saying it. I'm gonna tell you guys what came up for me. I would have said, if you are really turning into this healthy, better person, then you would move on with someone who is better for you. Someone who is your equal now. Otherwise, I won't believe that you've actually done the work you say you have. Why would you still love me? I wouldn't have believed that someone would have loved me that much. I would not have believed that that kind of love truly existed in the world. I would have made up any kind of story necessary to tell myself how it doesn't really exist. A part of me would have wanted it to be real, and at the same time wanted it to go away. My ego would have said, it's not real, and it would have continued to look for proof that something was wrong with his so-called love for me. And when my heart had a chance to speak, it would say, but wouldn't it be great if it was true? But the risk would be too scary for me to have done anything about it. I can feel my ego would have won over and over and over again. See, it's easy to tell ourselves that we wouldn't do what the runner has done to us. But how do we actually know that? We got the spiritual awakening. We found our spirit teams. We started co-creating with the universe. And we got lucky enough to have a catalyst that draws us into healing work, to bettering ourselves, to finding our soul. What brought you to this video today? The runner has no catalyst. They have emptiness. They have an ego that has the perfect spot to being their only true friend. And the ego says, don't go there. It's not safe. I'll keep you safe. I'll help you keep the walls up. And every time their heart wants to turn the other way, it gets shut down. I didn't write any of this to make any of you feel sorry for the runners. That is not what this is about. This is your epiphany to help you understand more about yourself. For some of you, the twin flame journey actually feels safe because you have not yet had to completely open your heart to someone else. You keep yourself somewhat down there because that's where your twin is, because it feels safe there. What your runner is doing to themselves might actually be inside of you as well. Like I said, mirrors. But you haven't had a chance to see it fully yet. Do you feel good enough? If they had gone first, if they had healed first, would you have truly felt worthy of that? Or would you have stayed in a pit of darkness? Because that's the devil you know. You know, I had a client once say to me, she didn't want to continue work with me, and she didn't want to do the healing work unless there was some kind of guarantee of union. I mean, I'm not one of those coaches who will lie to you and tell you that I can get you back into union just to get your money. They are all lying, by the way. I know because I've had clients come to me after taking their courses, still feeling miserable. Point being is sometimes people don't want to better themselves in fear of leaving their twin behind. They'd rather just stay in the messiness where it feels safe. But I want any of you feeling this way to allow your heart to have a voice. Your heart that actually wants love. What does it say to you? Returning to my runner phase for a moment. If he had healed first, I would have looked up to him so much in ways I never would have told him. I never would have had the guts to tell him. I would have been happy for him that he made it out of the trenches I was in. And I know that I never would have felt worthy of his love until I went and did the things that I needed to do for myself. But if I knew that he was pining after me, or having obsessive thoughts about me, or stalking me on social media, I wouldn't have believed that. His healing and his passion for his life was real. So to me, I would need to be able to see that he was all in that nothing I would do would faze him or bring him down from that. Otherwise, my ego would have a chance to say, yeah, I told you so. And then there's the big question that I know you're all dying to ask. In this scenario, would I have ever returned to him? Listen, putting myself back in the runner phase, that is such a hard question to answer. I think my ego would have said to me, if he's so wonderful now, why isn't he dating anyone else? And if he was dating someone else, my ego would have also made up a story around that as well. Like, I told you he didn't really love you. I told you you weren't good enough for him. The runner just can't see a way out of that until they heal those wounds, until they make a decision for themselves. Until they are ready to start taking some damn risks around their lives. Some risks around love. But him showing me how powerful healing would have been for him, that would have been the only thing that would have convinced me to pick myself up off that damn concrete and start to do better. But here's the other thing I learned during this. I have to live up to that end of the bargain if that's what I would expect of him. Because if the tables were reversed, I would always want to continue looking up to him. That's the only way that he would become my catalyst as the runner. I think I would want a glimpse of that unconditional love. The love that he held for me while I had none for myself. But you guys, that love only exists if I take care of me. If I continue daily to up-level my life, to feel better about myself whenever possible, and place boundaries where needed. This is my message for all of you today. This is why they run. For all the reasons that you found when you explored the shoe being on the other foot. The same reasons that are deep down within yourself. You see, there's no reason to put them on a pedestal or think that they have it all figured out, because they don't. If I admitted to you as a runner that I did all of this, if I came on camera and said I'm not going back to my twin because I feel like shit about myself, would you guys have given me a pass or made excuses for me? I hope right now you are saying, fuck no. So there's no need to make excuses for them either. If that had happened to me, I would have resisted any kind of help around me. My ego would have stopped me every step of the way. Again, it was my only friend. And when that's your only friend, that's the source that you look to for comfort. So until I decided to override it, remember that that is because it is the same for all runners. And the more you push them, the more they run. Just as I would have. Here's your evidence that it is best to just let them be. Let them look up to you from afar. I'm willing to bet that there is a small part of them that's cheering you on. Because they wish they were in your shoes, not feeling the pain that they're still feeling. And you actually can give them that glimpse of hope that they could do it too. Maybe, just maybe. I love you guys. Thank you for opening your hearts to this message today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. I hope to see you in the next video.